I think people are asking themselves, is that bunch of crazies over in North Korea for real, or are they just bluffing? Is this bluster for home consumption, or do they really intend on using nuclear weapons against America? If they are, we ought to take them out. If not, we just can smile and say, well, you're crazy, and criminal enterprise and all that business, and let them go their way. But anyhow, North Korea is taking a big step with its nuclear program, one that is raising tensions not only in that peninsula, but all around Asia.
North Korea's move could lead to more nuclear weapons and a possible threat to the United States. Ephraim Graham has the story.
The fear of a war with North Korea continues to grow, with the regimes mounting threats against the U.S. and South Korea. The latest move in the nuclear standoff, leader Kim Jong-un says he will restart a dormant reactor in his main nuclear facility, one that has the ability to produce material for one atomic bomb per year. The reactor was shut down in 2007 as part of international nuclear disarmament talks. This marks the first time North Korea admitted the reactor would be used to make nuclear weapons. When it was first unveiled, the North insisted it was to generate electricity. Even with this latest round of threats, the White House says there's no evidence Kim Jong-un will actually act.
Despite the harsh rhetoric we're hearing from Pyongyang, we are not seeing changes to the North Korean military posture, such as large-scale mobilizations and positioning of forces.
Meanwhile, the Washington Free Beacon reports China has begun activating troops near the Korean peninsula. China is obligated to defend North Korea under a treaty between the two countries, and the U.S. is responding to North Korea's threats with a show of force, sending stealth B-2 bombers, F-22 fighters, and now a U.S. Navy destroyer to the region.
And we believe this has reduced the chance of miscalculation and provocation.
North Korea claims it's working towards nuclear-tipped missiles that can reach the United States. It's not believed to currently have the technology, but U.S. military bases in the region would be within range of a North Korean strike. Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Over 50 years ago, another fanatic wrote a book called Mein Kampf, and he outlined his plans for expanding Germany and taking over surrounding countries and subjugating Jews and all the rest of it. And people didn't believe him. They said, oh, he's just a fanatic, he's just raving. Well, 50 million people died as a result of that fanatic's raving, and we had to engage in a terrible war, a costly war, a war that took the lives of thousands of our young men in service. So is this fanatic just raving, or is it going to be something real? And if it's something real, we ought to put him down fast. You know, we could bomb them into submission. Just Pyongyang isn't all that big. And I know the threat right now is to South Korea, because they have the North has all kinds of artillery units and batteries and divisions of troops right on the border. And Seoul is right next to the North Korean border. So South Korea is obviously concerned. And what we do to stop them, we can't have a conventional war over there. There's no way that the United States can send troops into Korea again, but we can sure take them out and use the power we've got if we have to. Let's hope we don't. Well, while Washington is worrying about North Korea, a major city in California has a financial problem on its hands. Stockton, if you know some of the writings of Grapes of Wrath and so forth, Stockton played a great role in the old days of California. But that city of legend is going bankrupt. Lee Webb has more on that from the CBN Newsroom. Lee.
And you have to ask yourself, how does a city go bankrupt? But it's happened. A federal judge has ruled, Pat, that Stockton, California cannot pay its bills and has no other options. Stockton is the most populated city in the U.S. to declare bankruptcy. Several factors contributed to the crisis: plummeting property values, a decrease in sales and tax revenues, and generous benefits for city employees. City officials will begin negotiations now with creditors to make smaller payments on the millions they're owed. Lawyers, though, for the creditors insist the city of Stockton has not tried hard enough to find the money. Investors are expecting stocks to keep doing well for the rest of 2013. The market started the year with the strongest 3 months since 1998. History has shown that when stocks are strong in the first quarter, they do well the rest of the year. But some investors caution they have been going up for several months and that the market is due for a pullback. Many analysts still think the market, though, will set more record highs later this year and next. They also expect the price of oil to move up, too. They're mixed on the prospects for other investments, Pat, like gold and silver. How about you?
Well, I've played Sprott, platinum and palladium. I think there's a shortage of platinum, and that might go up. Gold is tipping over another level. But Lee, the thing about the market is it's a function of money. Money comes in, the market goes up, and the Federal Reserve Board has opened the spigots and it's just pouring money in. And when people can borrow money at virtually no cost whatsoever, why not speculate on stocks? There are a number of stocks that are paying dividends in the 6, 7, 8% range, and they're good companies too. So why not do a little carry trade when you can borrow money at 0.5% or 1% interest and so forth, and you can in turn get 4, 5, 6%, and the possibility of capital appreciation. And so that's why the market is going up. People are chasing these yields. There's a huge amount of money on the sidelines. And but I tell you, down the road, it doesn't look good. I think sooner or later there's going to be a big crash, but it's not yet. And so the party's still going on, and they haven't taken the punch bowl away. Lee?
Palestinians call it the West Bank. Jewish people call it their biblical homeland. Israeli settlements in those areas have been a sticking point in Middle East peace talks. Much of the world wants Israel to stop building in the biblical heart of Israel known as Judea and Samaria. Instead, some Jewish people are putting down roots for generations to come. Chris Mitchell has that story.
This is Givat Asaf. We're at a playground that my organization, the Shiloh Israel Children's Fund, has set up for the children here. This is a community that was established several years ago.
But in 2001, it was a murder scene after 30-year-old Ashef Herskowitz died in a terror attack. Terrorists killed and wounded many Israelis along this highway, where biblical patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob once traveled. David Rubin and his son survived one such attack about 10 years ago.
One way we Israelis here in Samaria respond to terrorism is by establishing new communities.
Givat Asaf is in the disputed West Bank, an area much of the world considers occupied. The Bible calls it Judea and Samaria, an inheritance promised to the Jewish people, but Palestinians want it for a future state.
My position, United Nations position on settlement is clear. It does not help the ongoing peace process.
They really think that the land of Israel belongs to the Arabs, not to the Jews. So they look at everything we do here as illegal.
But even the League of Nations, precursor to the UN, actually encouraged Jewish settlement. Article 6 of the British mandate reads, "The administration of Palestine, while ensuring that the rights and position of other sections of the population are not prejudiced, shall facilitate Jewish immigration and shall encourage close settlement by Jews on the land."
Our message is we will not surrender to terrorism. We will do the opposite of what the terrorists want us to do, which is to build for the future through the next generations. And that's what this playground here is all about.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Givat Asaf, Samaria.
Pat, can there ever be a resolution there?
Probably not before the Lord comes back, but nevertheless, I think what we're doing isn't helpful, and I do think that the Israelis are smart to colonize as much of that land as they can and to build the settlements there. They're not settlements. You go over there, they're full cities with universities and factories and employment and modern highways and all the attributes of civilization. And every time you see the Jews working or the Israelis working, it is beneficial. But as far as Jerusalem, the capital, of course they can build apartments in their own capital. This is ridiculous that anybody would tell the Jewish people you can't build. It's like somebody's telling the United States you can't build apartments in Washington, D.C., or that the people in Canada can't build in Toronto or Montreal or Ottawa. I mean, it's absurd. So they will keep on building, and it's time that we, in a sense, in the nation, stay out of it and let them work it out among themselves. But can it ever be fixed? Probably not. Lee?
Pat, the final episode of the Bible mini-series on the History Channel had a huge audience Easter Sunday. Early estimates show that 11.7 million viewers tuned in. That's up 14% from the week before. The final installment included the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus. The success of the series makes the History Channel the top cable network for the month of March. America's youngest adolescents are not as sexually active as some might think. New research shows only 0.6% of 10-year-old boys and girls have had sex, 1.1% of 11-year-olds, and 2.4% of 12-year-olds. The study also finds that sex among the very young is not by choice. 62% of girls who had sex by the age of 10 say that was their first time and it was by force, but sexual activity remains common among older teenagers. Teenagers are setting themselves up for a high risk of heart disease because of their lifestyle. A new study from the University of Oklahoma finds that teens are eating processed foods and snacks along with sugary drinks. They're not eating enough fruits and vegetables, and they're not getting enough exercise. And once heart problems develop in childhood, they're likely to remain with a person as they get older. Pat?
So I'm going to outlive my grandchildren. Okay.
No, your grandchildren are eating your soup. They're good
They're
to go.
eating my soup. They're learning. I hope they are.
Yes, they
But Terry,
are.
since when is it good news to hear that 8 and 10, 9 and 10 years aren't having sex? Since when did little babies have sex? They didn't when I was growing up. I mean, didn't even think about it.
Yeah, interesting that a study would be done on that. It would be interesting to know, you know, is all of what they're chronicling, are they saying that all of it is forced on children that age? I mean, that's
Well, the
alarming as
education
well.
is forced on them. Little children aren't ready for this. They don't want to know about it, but we force sex education in the school when they're in kindergarten. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And so you have all these pictures and you wonder why little kids don't experiment. Of course they experiment. But my goodness, I mean, we're supposed to clap with joy because 10-year-olds aren't having sex. I mean, please.
Was a little crazy.
It's a little crazy, a little crazy. It shows how depraved we have become as a society.
A new law decriminalizing the use of marijuana has gone into effect in Rhode Island. Under the law, there is no longer the penalty of jail time for anyone caught with small amounts of pot. Instead, they'll face a $150 fine. The issue has many divided. Critics worry the law will lead to more people smoking pot and more problems.
We don't even have, you know, drunk driving soda. We don't even have that. I mean, we're still losing up to 25 people every year in our state, you know, to drunk driving, alcohol-related crashes.
Supporters of the measure say those who use marijuana are going to do it regardless and that the new law will not change anything. Rhode Island is also preparing to open its first medical marijuana dispensaries. It's now one of 13 states to decriminalize marijuana. The family of an imprisoned Iranian Christian has been safely evacuated from Iran. Just a few weeks ago, the family of Pastor Farshid Fathi was secretly transported to Canada. Farshid is serving a 6-year sentence for being a Christian evangelist. He's jailed at Evin Prison, which is known for brutal treatment and even torture. When Farshid was first arrested in 2010, he was held in solitary confinement for more than 100 days. He's now been separated from his family and loved ones for more than 2 years. You can find out more about this story and always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com.